Professional who selects and serves wine. Sommeliers. In this video, we'll cover everything that has to do with sommeliers. What they are, what they do, why will someone want to become one, and how you will actually go and become a sommelier yourself if that's something that interests you. As always, if you want to find and nurture your ideal occupation or business niche, subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you know whenever a new video comes out. Also, remember to smash that like button. So first things first, what is a sommelier? Well, like we said in the beginning of the video, it is a professional who selects and serves wines. They usually do this for an establishment. For example, many fine restaurants will hire sommeliers. They will actually enhance the wining experience or dining experience of many of the patrons of the restaurant. So basically, you are an expert in fine wine and you know everything from where the grapes came from, the vineyards in which they were grown, what region of the world they are from, what the wine's rating is, the kind of vintage that it has, all of that stuff, and you're an expert on it. Since a sommelier is usually also in charge of serving it to clients of a restaurant, then you must also have a good knowledge of which wine goes best with which foods, with some dishes, right? And basically know, okay, based on the patrons or the people who are there dining, based on their budgets, which wines will go best with these foods that they're having. Other basic responsibilities have to do with actually ordering and maintaining the wines at the restaurant in which you are, educating other employees on the wines themselves, like how to carry them, how to open them, all that stuff. And at the end of the day, you're not just about knowledge, but you're also about serving people. So you'll have to have the skill of actually opening the bottles up and doing it in a way that enhances the experience of the people who are there dining. But this takes us to point two, and that is, why would you even become a sommelier or a professional who selects and serves wine in the first place? Well, if you really like wine, then this is a career choice or an occupation that will require you to be very knowledgeable about different kinds of wines and their taste. So you will have to taste many different kinds of wines. It isn't unusual for people who are sommeliers, who have some cash on hand as well, to travel the world and discover different and new kinds of wines and to have different experiences and attend occupational conferences, among other things. So if having a life of tasting different kinds of wines, being an expert on it, being someone who serves people, and also being someone who travels the world and gains different experiences is something that catches your eye, then this can potentially be for you. Beyond that though, another aspect that many people take into account is how much do you actually get paid? Well, this depends on the level of skills that you have and where exactly you work, the location of the restaurant you work in, or if you're doing something else like teaching it to other people or something like that. But essentially, most sites that I've seen, most addresses say something along the lines of $40,000 to $150,000, potentially a bit more, depending on that, your skill level and what kind of work you're actually doing and where you're doing it. So if you are a complete novice, you're much more likely to be to the lower end of the scale. But if you are someone who's become more certified, and we'll get into that soon, you will be able to gain higher wages, especially if you are hired at some of the higher level fine restaurants in some of the more expensive locations like Manhattan in New York or some other big cities in which you know the cost of living is higher. On that same vein, when it comes to certification, if you are what they call an advanced sommelier, then you can make in the 75K range. But if you are a master sommelier, you can make as much as 120 or 150K, just to give you an idea. Having said that, where could you work? You could work again in upscale restaurants. You could work as a writer/teacher, maybe doing it online or maybe doing it for a conference or someone else. You could work at hotels, and you could potentially even have your own wine store. Okay, you're telling me that you're solo already, that you want to travel the world, try different wines, and do all that shebang and get paid like 6 figures. But it isn't that easy. In order to become an actual sommelier, there's a lot of work that you have to put in, and that is what we're going to cover now. Point 3, how to actually become a sommelier. Well, you obviously have to get acquainted with the taste and the different details of many kinds of wines that exist. You have to get acquainted also with the story and the different kinds of wines from places like Italy, Spain, and many other major hubs of winemaking. And not only that, but you will also have to gain experience as an actual service provider at a restaurant chain or somewhere along those lines, so you can actually gain the skill set, the practical skill sets that will be required of you as you go, and you have that experience that you can parlay into further positions down the line. But we also mentioned some certification processes. Well, the Court of Master Sommeliers, or CMS for short, that was established in 1977 actually is the foremost international examining body that actually certificates sommeliers and people who, again, serve and select wines at different places. And in order to deal with them, you will have that, well, in order to get to the six figures range when it comes to being certified and having that level of experience, you're gonna have to go through a lot of work, because since in the time between 1977, since it was established, till like 2015, there were only 229 master sommeliers in the entire world, which is insane when you think about it. Only 230 people, maybe less than 300 by now, by 2019, at the time of this video. That is crazy. That exam is notoriously difficult, having three different parts, one of which has to do with servicing patrons, another which is like a blind tasting of wines, and another which is basically a written theory test in order to figure out your level of knowledge. Actually, most people take about 2 to 3 times to pass all three parts, and this is an invitation-only exam for which you must have passed all of the previous levels. So let me explain. In order to become a sommelier, like a master sommelier, according to the CMS, or the Court of Master Sommeliers, you have to start with the introductory exam. Then after that one, you must get the certified exam. After that one, you must take the advanced exam, after which you become an advanced sommelier, which I mentioned earlier. We can make in the 75K range. And after you've done all those, then you get an invitation to go and take the master sommelier exam, which is the final one, and which is very, very difficult. It usually takes people several years to accomplish something like this, since each exam requires a lot of effort and study in terms of experience, in terms of actually developing yourself so you can pass the exams. But if this sounds like something that could be a lot of fun for you, you can go in and do it. And you don't necessarily have to go and become a master sommelier at some point, but it's nice to know that you can have that progression. And what happens after you get that? Well, again, you can potentially make 6 figures at fine wining and dining restaurants in upscale locations, but as some people have mentioned, you also have the opportunity to become a different kind of person back with that experience and that certification and and those credentials. You can potentially become an importer of wine. You can go and have your own restaurant because you have those credentials and that experience. You can educate other people, and you could potentially even become a winemaker yourself. Although, again, some of these options will require a lot of extra capital, which perhaps you saved up during your time as someone that was gaining experience on upscale restaurants, and maybe by getting some debt, depending on the kind of how you're doing it, right? I'm not giving any recommendations here. I'm just giving you some ideas of what other people have done. Comment below if you've learned anything new so far. So you know what a sommelier, or a professional who selects and serves wine, is, what they do, where they usually work, how much they make, why you will go about becoming one, what are some of the lifestyle perks, maybe in some cases, and also how you will go about becoming one and gaining more experience, more certification, and perhaps getting more money. So what is the next step? The next step is to smash that like button below and subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you know whenever a new video comes out. All right.